and the power of the corporate media, they don't. I mean, look at this Fox News headline. Treasury sticks to U.S. economy outlook despite S&P's negative outlook. So the Treasury is sticking by saying the economy's great, despite Standard & Poor's negative outlook, saying that they believe the U.S. is going to lose its AAA rating, which will then pay Geithner and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and George Soros more money. What did Soros say last week? He came out and he said, America can take on more debt. We need to raise taxes. What does the Federal Reserve? Every time I turn around, we need to raise taxes. Oh, yes, we need to raise taxes on the rich. They mean your neighbor making $250,000 a year, not their money tax-free offshore. Again, I will continue to repeat this. I will continue like a broken record because the public is starting to get it. I heard Michael Savage talking about the ultra-rich creating socialism to rob the people versus the nouveau riche. I've heard other local hosts now doing it, and finally they're getting it. If we get this out there, liberals will wake up, conservatives will wake up, game over. Mainline Republicans are, let's take all the money away from anybody that makes over $125,000 individually, $250,000 couple. That's the rich. And the poor liberals, you know, making $30,000 a year or whatever, they're like, okay, take it from them. You could take all their money, and it would only run the country for 3.5 months. Now, the Republicans tell the truth on that front, but they don't talk about the quadrillions in fake derivatives. They don't talk about the tens of trillions we've paid to back it up. They don't talk about Davos 3 months ago calling for 100 trillion more of Western world's tax money. And so it's very simple. And that's why I get so frustrated. And sometimes people think I'm exaggerating or I'm saying something that sounds wild. I rarely exaggerate. Generally, when things come out later, it's worse than what I said. Like a few weeks ago, I said that taxes cost $50 billion a year to file. Turns out that my memory failed. I looked it up this morning and I was wrong. It was $50 billion a year just for Texans to file income taxes in an actuary that was done last year. It's now nationwide $431 billion. The federal government and the Commerce Department admit. That's in an article today called The 30-Cent Tax Premium, Wall Street Journal. Not $50 billion. See, sometimes even my brain, I'm going to your calls, cannot get around these numbers. 9 times out of 10, folks, it's worse than what I'm saying. Do you get me? When I tell you the so-called liberals that run this country literally want red terror re-education camps, that's what they promote. And the Republicans are getting conservatives to buy into it, thinking it's for the straw man of the overseas Muslim. The whole thing was set up from the beginning for the American people, and now it's all admitted. It's for gun owners, libertarians, landowners, returning veterans. Get it through your head. Treason came to America. Look, if you got on a plane, walked on board, saw the captain, co-pilot, they take off, suddenly guys jump up, say they're hijacking the plane, they put on the captain's uniforms. Do you then salute them and believe that they're the real captain? No. The people running this country have taken it over and hijacked it. They're illegitimate. They're crooks. To cops and military, you better get that through your head. And it's not just Obama. All right, I'm going to your calls. It's just that, to simplify this, Tim Geithner wants us bankrupt. They want us to lose our credit rating. They want to damage the dollar so they can launch the new global Bancorp currency that's digital, that controls all the other currencies. They admit this just 2 weeks ago at the last meeting at Bretton Woods, too, and in all their reports. 2 years ago, Geithner at an economic conference said they're looking at how to get rid of the dollar. They're traitors. They get power while they leveraged out the dollar. Now they're going to get power on the other side of it. They're ruthless. They play both sides, or all 3 or 4 sides. People always ask what I'm drinking in these green bottles. It's Topo Chico mineral water from Mexico with a twist of lime. People think I'm drinking beer on air. This is Topo Chico, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever, I'm done ranting. It's just to see him say, if anybody doesn't raise the debt ceiling or if you don't increase taxes, you're going to cause a default. They already defaulted. The vast majority of the Treasury bills are not being bought. The Saudis are cutting output. They're openly saying they're being cheated like we told you 6 months ago. It's begun. It's begun. And I cannot watch these criminals on TV, the willing whores in the mainstream media, selling us out anymore. I'm not a hero for telling the truth. I've got survival instinct. Lou Dobbs isn't a hero. He's a smart economic guy. Of course he tells you the same thing I'm telling you. Ron Paul's telling you the same thing. It's true. It's facts. We know what's going on. It's ridiculous. It's like watching cops give an armed escort to bank robbers. Of course I'm hopping mad. I'm done with it. And then the bank robbers have a PR firm that goes around demonizing those of us that know what's really going on. All right, I'm done. I'm done. Nothing but calls till the end. Damon in South Carolina, you're on the air. Then JJ. Go ahead, Damon.
Thanks for taking my call. Alex, I got back from the former Soviet Union Republic of Belarus about a month ago after visiting with my wife's family over there. My wife, this explosion that took place last week, I found it very interesting. I read in an article that, Lukashenko's managed to keep his debt situation under control for the longest time. And then all of a sudden now he's taken a multi-billion-dollar loan from Russia, and very curious that he didn't go to the IMF or the World Banks or the George Soroses for his money. He went to Russia.
Well, why do you think Libya's getting overthrown? He buys gold. He made a deal to be peaceful, so they send in al-Qaeda to overthrow the country.
Yep, so they go in and blow up a subway station, kill a bunch of people, wound countless others, and make them all think that it's like some opposition party to the president.
Well, I've looked some into that, and, we're not completely sure it couldn't have been the government forces that did that, too. I'd say from studying it, 8-9 times out of 10, terror attacks are usually whoever's in power, from Hitler firebombing the Reichstag to starting World War II with Poland, attacking his own military base at Gleiwitz. But the globalists do fund some of the Muslim extremist groups in the Caucasus to basically try to destabilize the region, and so it could be that as well.
Well, the thing is, Lukashenko won with like 80% of the vote last year in the wintertime, which was ridiculous. But changing from the subject quickly, because I know you got other people who want to call, I just want to share one thing. I live in South Carolina, Florence, South Carolina. We have a sheriff here who is a federalized goon who has all his boys come out and do illegal, unconstitutional checkpoints all over the county every week. I've got caught in 3 of them in the last 2 months, and it is ridiculous. And
well, the state had to pass a law, and courts ruled in Texas they couldn't do it. But up until 11 years ago when they stopped doing it, I ran into 3 or 4 checkpoints, and the cops pull me over and want to search my car, and I'm like, this is illegal, and no, I don't use your products. Leave me alone. And when they said, get out, we're searching it, and I said, okay, I'm going to sue you all individually. And they said, all right, get back in your car and go. Cops, you are destroying America. You're not stopping drugs. They're shipped in by the government, and now the state of Texas is getting federal lobbying money to put in DWI checkpoints. That's just their nose under the tent flap. We do not need checkpoints here. The only place you can have checkpoints is on the border, and now it's come out, what we already knew last month, that Obama orders the Border Patrol to not arrest illegals except for small quota times for photo ops. Well, I already know that. I mean, I've been run into by an illegal alien, what was it, 10 years ago, and when the cops came, the cops said, oh, he didn't have any ID, you got insurance, just pay for it. If I ran into somebody who didn't have insurance, I'll guarantee I'd at least get a ticket. I mean, that's what I'm tired of. I'm tired because the cops follow their orders, and the system wants the illegals here.
When I got pulled over on Friday night, the deputy sheriff, he was like, license? I'm like, what's this about? He's like, license and registration check. So I gave it to him, and he looked at me. He's like, you upset? I had the wife and kids in the car, and I was going to go off on him about this being unconstitutional and whatnot, but I didn't need him making an example out of me in front of my wife and kids. But I'll tell you what, we're getting out of here. I don't know where we're going to go, but this is ridiculous, man. They had a dozen deputy sheriffs just standing in the middle of one of the main roads there pulling people over, and the majority of the people they were pulling over are like, oh, thanks for keeping us safe.
Now the TSA, this is an angle I hadn't covered, all over the country, they're not just running checkpoints. They'll have one TSA agent or 2 or 3 training the local MJTF multiple jurisdiction goon force. Again, training us to, they're universalizing the police codes under federal control. They're mixing them all together under threat fusion centers. And the big angle here is TSA is going out and training police to start the groping. So next, and to take blood. I forgot that part. And so what's happening here is they are turning them into a federal goon force. And all I can say is go to the county commissioners, go to the city council, complain about it, file a lawsuit. I never told this story because I wanted to see what was going to happen afterwards. Obviously, I did go through a border. And they were of another country with my family. And without telling me, suddenly my daughter was being groped. And I completely blew up. Started screaming in a total commander voice, but I mean, that only the real, you never heard it on the radio, folks. I mean, just like, it was, and they had like 20 security people, and I basically stood there and climbed up on the chair and told them how it was and then walked right through. But the point is, I cannot travel now because they didn't tell me they were doing, and all of a sudden they were grabbing one of my daughters, and it was just, boom, it was over. And that's what I'm telling you. Is I can't handle it anymore. And I want to travel. I want to go places. I can't because I can't do it. I've still got enough basic instinct to not allow that. I appreciate your call. Finish up, Damon. So he kind of noticed in your eyes you weren't loving the tyranny enough, and he said, "You got a problem there, boy?" What did he say to you, Damon?
He said basically, he was like, "You upset about something?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And then he was like, "What's it about?" And I just let it go because I knew. I mean, he had 11 goons backing him up.
Don't worry. The bankers are going to take everything he's got, and the government's poisoning his kids, and he loves it.
You know what stinks, Alex, is that I called my representative, Chris Crawford, who's the representative of Florence, and Philip Lowe, who's also a representative from that area, and they came back to me and were like, Kenny Boone, the sheriff, whatever he gets off the people, if he gets a legal traffic stop or, finds drug money and stuff, he gets to keep 50%, so he's helped keeping your taxes down by running those checkpoints. That's the state representatives in Columbia, South Carolina, Chris Crawford, Philip Lowe. That's what their comeback is on this. They don't even see that it's unconstitutional, violating the rights of the people.
No, they all know. Look, every real cop I've talked to, and I've talked to old, famous detectives in L.A. and people, they all know 9/11's an inside job. They all know who ships the drugs, and the government's been caught hundreds of times. It's just a complete joke. It's their chicken feed, like a deer feeder, they put out as an excuse to have open season on everybody. I appreciate your call. JJ in New Jersey, you're on the air.
Hey, God bless you, Alex. How are you?
I'm all right, but, man, they're closing in on us, and I'm getting tired of it.
I hear you. And I was just thinking you were talking about the TSA, the police agents, or the police, turning into TSA agents. I'm just wondering about all the layoffs. Now, I'm in New Jersey, and they're having, 7 layoffs in my town, and Patterson, 120, Newark, had a whole bunch, in Camden. I mean, the crime's way up, but yet you wonder about if they're not going to be converting these, former police officers into TSA agents. Just what's your thoughts on that?
No, they're already, most sheriff's departments have deputized their people as auxiliary BATF gun grabbers. They're all over the country training local police in gropings.
And then I was wondering, I was watching Jesse Ventura, the conspiracy theory, a couple episodes, that 2012 episode and Draining the Great Lakes. I don't know if you've seen those episodes.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Okay, and he's talking about the underground bunkers, and then as far as the water being in new blue oil. I just was wondering what your thoughts on all that are.
Well, I mean, I've seen the water episode. I'm in it. The water episode is totally accurate. The 2012 is accurate about the government COG bunkers, but it's speculation about what's going to happen in 2012. I don't think anything but financial meltdown. I don't know about comets and earthquakes, though that started. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Mayans knew something. I just go off what I can prove, but that's powerful info. I appreciate your call, JJ. Let's talk to Chip in Washington. Chip, you're on the air.
How you doing, sir?
I'm all right.
I've been a listener for about 10 years. About after 9/11, I knew something wasn't right, so I found you doing research, and I've been listening to you every day ever since. I want to thank you for everything you've done. I'm a veteran, And I live up here in Seattle, and it's hard to wake people up because they're all in a trance. But anyway, I have two important issues I'd like to talk about. One of them being Michio Kaku. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He co-founded the string theory.
Yes, I know who he is. He's a physicist.
Yeah. So anyway, I found one of his videos a couple weeks ago, and I've been trying to get through to talk to you about it. He talks about how when they look into outer space, they're looking for different types of civilizations, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. And they said that within 100 years, we'll be able to go to the next tier. But to do that, they have to be able to get all the resources in the world funneled into one place. If you YouTube it, it's Michio Kaku talks about a new world order. It's about 4 minutes and 48 seconds long.
Yeah, we need to play that. I've seen it.